Hey guys, it's Kim. I'm back. And in case you can't tell from the shirt and the board, we are talking about a JLA book today. So, we talked about, and JLA is one of my queens. She's one of my favorite authors of all time. We talked about the Covenant series. So we're talking about the spinoff series, which is the Titan series. And the first book in that series is The Return. And that beautiful man on the front, I'm going to get it closer so you can get a better view, is Drew Lady, Leighty. And if you Google Drew Lady and click on images, you will not be disappointed because he is a model and an actor. And yes, you should do that. So it's JLA. Y'all know I love JLA. So right off the bat, because I love JLA and I love this series, it's 5-star. So this is a kind of Seth's redemption arc, right? And this story is all about Seth. You still get Alex and Aiden sprinkled in here and there, but this is Seth's story. And I love Seth anyway. I told y'all when I was doing the Covenant video that the first read through I was team Seth. Then the second read through I almost completely flip-flopped to team Aiden because God, I just love Aiden so much. And now reading Seth's book again, I'm just like, oh, Seth. So it's okay to love them both, y'all. It is, because I do. But no, so one of the things that I love about this book, so it's dual POV, you switch point of view between Seth and Josie. And so I love that because I love that you get the insight into Seth and how he's feeling and his emotions and things he's dealing with. I love Josie as a heroine. She's very strong mentally and has that mental fortitude because she's not, Alex, I had a total girl crush on Alex. Alex is just this badass warrior, right? Josie is not. She's grown up normal. So Josie gets kind of thrown into this world and she's very strong mentally to be able to adjust, adapt, kind of thing. So I like that. There wasn't really anything I didn't like. I had a lot of favorite moments and all of them involved Seth. I put quite a few quotes on my bookstagram. There was this one point where he says that he was using the kiss to try to claim her soul, but the funny thing was it was his soul that was being claimed. Yes, y'all. And it's steamy. And there's a warning in the front. I got so tickled reading this. Where is it? Let's see. Oh, there it is. So I'll read it to you because I don't want to bend my pages. It says, this book is intended for a new adult audience. It contains a sexy hot guy with mad skills that will be described in swoon-inducing detail. Even the scenes where he's just walking around with his shirt off, yeah, that happens a lot. Seth's in the Guys Who Lost His Shirt Club, and I'm not mad about it. May prove too intense for younger readers. Please consider yourselves warned. So she's got a warning at the front. Hey, y'all, it's spicy, and I ain't mad at it. So definitely loved it. You should read it if you haven't read the Titan series. Even if you're Team Aiden, I know a lot of Team Aiden people who have read the series. So read the series. All right, so that's the spoiler-free portion of the review. Time for the recap. So this is the spoilery part. So, told you the main character's Josie, right? Poor Josie is just going to college, minding her business, and the fates bring them together. Okay. So we start off with Seth. Seth is hunting down because, Seth traded his life to the gods to be service to the gods and traded his eternity to Hades so that he traded his life to the gods so that Apollo would give Aiden ambrosia so Aiden could be a demigod with Alex. He traded his eternity to Hades so that Hades would let Aiden out of his eternity so Aiden could actually spend it with Alex. So basically he has nothing, right? His present, his future, and his eternity have all been given to the gods. So Seth has nothing. So the gods have Seth hunting down the Ares supporters and killing them. Apollo shows up and wants him to go to Radford University in Virginia and protect someone with the initials JB. And that's all he tells them, and gives them a class schedule and get them to the Covenant in South Dakota. It's very important. So then we switch to Josie. Josie is literally like walking to class, minding her business, living her life. And that's how it always happens, right? These poor characters just living life. And then the poo hits the fan and they find out they're not what they thought they were. So she's just walking to class and her bag falls. And when she turns around, Seth is picking it up and like cussing a lot because he just assumed JB was dude. And now he finds out JB is not a dude. And he's just like, F me, SOB, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, what's your name? And what are you? Like, you know, Seth being a jerk because he's Seth. He I guess he leaves. He goes to the penthouse in his hotel and calls Apollo and is like, dude, what the heck? And Apollo tells him that Josie is a demigod, a bound demigod, because Seth is like, this chick's mortal. Why do you want me protecting a mortal? And so Apollo's like, she's not. She's a demigod, and she's very important, and there's a reason that she looks like Alex. Because that was another thing, like, Seth was freaked out because she has some facial features similar to Alex, and I think he's been trying not to think about it, and then, boom, he gets hit in the face with this chick that looks like she's related to Alex, and there's a reason for that, because she is related to Alex. She's Apollo's daughter. And the Titans are loose. Perseus has loosed the rest of the Titans. The poo has hit the fan because the Titans are walking the planet. And it's just a matter of time before that. And they feed off of gods, demigods, pures, and halves. And so it's just a moment of time, or matter of time, whatever, before they feed off all the things with ether and then destroy humanity. And then what? So he's afraid that Hyperion, who's one of the Titans, will be gunning for Josie. And he wants Seth to keep her safe. So Seth's like, you know what? We're just ripping this Band-Aid off. So he goes back to the college, finds her. She was actually trying to go on a date with a normal guy. Bless her heart. And gets interrupted by Seth, who, like, tells the dude leave. So the dude, like, scampers off. So Seth tells Josie that she's a demigod, that he's an Apollyon, and she's, like, trying to figure out, like, okay, because Josie thinks that her mother has schizophrenia, that her mother has hallucinations. And so Josie's trying to figure out if she's starting to have hallucinations because schizophrenia is genetic. So she's like, okay, is this real? Am I seeing this? And he's like, yeah, it's real. Like, you're a demigod. Like, get your stuff. Let's go. And of course, Josie freaks out and runs because who wouldn't, right? So Seth sees this human being possessed by a shade. And when he goes to confront it, the shade, like, supernatural poofs out the guy's mouth in a black stream of smoke. So then he's heading for Josie's dorm. And he gets in her room, and her roommate, Erin, is a fury. She changes form. So poor Josie is, like, freaking out because Erin, who is her only friend, her roommate for the last 2 years of college, has now turned into a fury. So she really thinks she's losing it. And Seth and Erin start fighting because, remember, Seth killed a fury in the Covenant series, and they do not take kindly to that, and they remember that, and so Erin is going for Seth. Josie goes to run, opens the door, and there's another shade in the door. So Erin starts fighting the shade. Josie gets smacked by one of Erin's wings and, like, hits the wall and ends up, like, knocked out. Seth takes Josie to his hotel room and tells her kind of the story. Like, he he's like, you remember all those natural disasters? That was really, the war we were fighting with Ares and blah, blah, blah. So he tells her some of the story. He doesn't tell her the whole story. So she realizes, like, oh crap, my mom is not crazy. And those medications can actually do harm if you're not schizophrenic. She's like, I need to get home. I need to get home now. He's like, yeah, we're not going anywhere tonight because, it's dark. It's night. It's like a 13-hour drive or something to Missouri from Virginia. So he pins her to the bed with his leg. I'm not mad at it. So he can take a nap before they hit the road. And she wakes up all snuggly and tangled with Seth, which is not a bad way to wake up. Like, I don't see the problem here. So Erin comes to the hotel. She's brought bags with all of Josie's stuff. And Erin tells her, because Josie's like, where are you coming with us? And Erin's like, no, I can't because I have to find the other demigods. Because the whole thing is, I can't remember. Because there were 12 gods, there were 12 demigods. But Ares killed some during his whole thing. So I think now there's, I don't remember, like 8? Anyway, like some got killed. So they don't have all of them. So Erin tells Josie that she has to go help find the other ones because they're all going to have to work together to entomb the Titans again. So Josie hugs her. Erin leaves. So on the 13-hour ride to Missouri, because Seth's like, we're getting in a plane. Josie's like, I'm not getting in a plane. And he's like, oh, she's scared of flying. He's like, okay, fine, we'll drive. So Seth is driving. On this 13-hour ride to Missouri, Seth tells Josie all about his childhood, like how his mother had no problem sleeping with her half-blood servants until she got knocked up. And then she, I guess, didn't like the shame of having a half-blood child, but then when it turned out that he was the Apollyon, like she would take him out just to show him off like a cool toy when other people were around. He was given to a nanny to raise who also wasn't kind. So Seth literally grew up not being loved, not having any kindness. And I mean, no, it's not an excuse because he still made choices. But the thing is, he never knew love, right? And it's kind of hard for somebody to give love and show love when they've never known love, when they've never known kindness, affection, those things. And Seth's never known those things. So they stop in the night. Well, they do. They stop for the night in Kentucky and share a bed again and snuggle again. And in the morning, while Seth is in the shower, Josie, everything's starting to hit her and she's kind of starting to have a panic attack. So she goes outside just to like breathe and take a moment, which is understandable. And she gets attacked by 2 demons. And she's getting eaten by the 2 demons when Seth comes outside and kills the demons. And then he is immediately, because he thinks about Alex and when Alex got tagged and he didn't get to her in time. And so he is like, and he's angry at himself, but he lashes out at Josie and is a complete jerk face. Because he's Seth. So when they get her to her grandparents' house, they're under a compulsion and her mom is missing. So Josie goes to the lake looking for her mom. And then all of a sudden, all the animals come running out. And it's like, oh crap, like what's happening? So she goes running to her grandparents' house. Seth goes running with her. Her grandfather is possessed by a demon and has a shotgun in his hand. He does the supernatural poof. And then he's just an empty like shell on the ground, like he just kind of crumples up like an accordion. Hyperion shows up, flings Seth, starts feeding off of Josie. So Seth attacks them. They're fighting. It's not going well. Seth's getting his hind parts handed to him. So Josie shoots Hyperion with a shotgun. See what I'm talking about? Girl got some grit. She is new to this world. She don't know nothing, but she knew how to shoot him with a shotgun. So, which doesn't really do much because he's a Titan. But still, that took guts, Josie. So then these nymphs show up, nymphs, and start shooting Hyperion with arrows laced in Pegasus blood. So that, and It doesn't kill him. It will just hold him in place, basically. It's like a tranquilizer arrow for Titans. So it gives them the chance to get out of there. So Josie runs to check the house for her grandmother, but one of the nymphs is like, there's nobody living in that house. Like, you need to go. And they tell her that Apollo got her mother to safety. So on the way to South Dakota from Missouri, Josie asked Seth to train her. You know, she's like, you know, I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to defend myself. I didn't know how to do anything. Will you train me? And he's like, I don't really know what I'm doing once I get you to South Dakota. So they get there, and Marcus and Solos come out to meet them. You know, Marcus is Alex's uncle, and he's the dean of the Covenant in South Dakota. So they meet with Marcus and Solos in Marcus's office. Seth tells them what Josie is, and she asks to be trained, and everybody's like, you're fine, you're safe here. And she's like, no, I want to be trained. And she actually like fights for it and makes an argument for it. And Marcus kind of has this fondness because she reminds him of Alex. So he's like, yeah, we'll find somebody to train you. So Solos takes them to the guest suites, and Seth knows, like, he's like, this is a really bad, I should leave this chick alone. Like, I got her here. I should just leave her alone. But he can't. So he takes her to the bathroom and helps like get her cleaned up and tells her his last name, because we've never heard Seth's last name. He didn't even tell Alex until now, which is Diodoros. She hugs him and he hugs her back, and he's like, I'll train you. And she asks him to stay with her because, you know, at this point, Seth has become a comfort to her. So when they wake up, her leg is rubbing against his third leg, and she realizes what is going on, and she's like, oh crap, because Josie, she ain't no man in the biblical sense. You know what I'm saying? She ain't no man. So she's like, ruh-roh, Raggy. Back it up, Terry. Put it in reverse. So she's like wiggling around trying to get unentangled from Seth, which is just making matters worse. And Seth's like, this is going to get really awkward in a minute. And then she feels even worse because she didn't know he was awake. I'm sorry, y'all. It's just so funny. Like when you're reading, it's like, girl. So then he flips her over, and he's on top of her, and he's like, what are we doing, Josie? And she's like, I don't know. And he's about to kiss her, and you're like, yeah. And then somebody knocks on the door. Yeah, isn't that how it always is in these books? Right when they're getting ready to kiss, or right when they're getting ready to do the booty, somebody knock on the door. It's Luke and Deacon, and of course they just invite themselves in. They're like, yeah, we heard you were here, and you brought a mortal. So, Seth like introduces them, and I think he tells them what Josie is. It's just like, it cannot leave this room, like nobody can know, you know, because obviously she's not safe here. And they agree, you know, to keep it on the DL. So Seth goes to meet with Marcus, and leaves Luke and Deacon with Josie. And he tells Marcus that he wants to train Josie, and Marcus is like, let me guess, the other demigods need to come here too to be safe. So Luke and Deacon take Josie to get breakfast, and they, you know, let it slip that Seth was kind of had a reputation for spreading his loving around to everybody everywhere he went. So they take her on a tour, and she's like got this weird kind of like feeling when they go past the library, like she's kind of drawn to the library. So she waits that night for Seth to come over and be her cuddle bunny again, but he doesn't come. So Seth literally spends the night sitting in the cemetery thinking about how terrible he is and how he doesn't deserve Josie. So the next day, that's what I'm saying. Like Seth hates himself. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to hate Seth because he already hates himself. So the next day they start training, and Josie is not having an easy go of it. Like, bless her heart, she's struggling. Like, she's struggling bad. Like, they're trying to teach her the correct way to fall, and she cannot get it at all. So that night, Seth gets some, like, sore muscle salve and, like, rubs her down. And, yeah. It's like, I need Seth to come to my house and rub me down. Yeah. So then he starts doing that every night. But every night he leaves, and poor Josie is just like laying there frustrated, you know what I'm saying? And don't know why, because she ain't no man. So then she's in the cafeteria, and there's a fight that breaks out between the pures and the halves, because they're still having this whole pure half thing, even though the rules have been changed. The mentality has not. Like, hello, even though we are not segregated anymore, sometimes the mentality is still there. My chair agrees. It's making noises. So Seth carries Josie out of the cafeteria and back to the room, and she goes off. Like, she goes off on him. Tells him, like, she's like, you know, it's not fair. It's not fair what happened to my parents. It's not fair what happened to my mom. You know, it's not fair what happened to me. I was just living my life. You know what else isn't fair? You touching me every night and then leaving. He's like, you know, if you don't want me to touch you, it's fine. And or he's like, you don't want me. Or if it bothers you that much, I'm going to do it or something. And she's like, F you. And he's like, Josie, you don't want me. And she's like, you don't get to tell me what I want. So he's like, F, and then he grabs her and kisses her, because he, like, is, you know, Seth never had good control to start with. Okay, let's just be honest. Y'all remember that whole somebody slipping Alex the Olympian roofie at the party? Like, Seth does not have self-control to start with. So when Josie's like, you can tell me what I want you, and he's like, okay, girl, well, you fixing to get me. So they're making out. And, you know, interesting parts are touching with their clothes on. And Apollo shows up, because that's what happens. And I wrote, because of effing course. So Apollo tells Josie that he's proud of her, that he cares for her, but he's worried about her taste in men. So Apollo, she didn't know, she had this friend growing up named Bob, and really it's really it's Apollo, but it's Apollo with his appearance changed to look human, and it looks like he did when he was Leon. And he used to come visit her when she was a little kid, and she's like, oh my God, it's Bob. And then he, like, shows his real face, and it was him the whole time. He's like, you know, I wasn't supposed to have anything to do with you, but you're my child, and I wanted to see you. I wanted to date you. So he leaves. She loses it. I think it finally kind of hits her, and she breaks down and she's crying, and Seth is holding her, and it's like so sweet, y'all. It's like, oh. So when she wakes up, Seth goes to leave, and she's like, oh no. Like, no, we're not doing this again. I already told you you're not leaving. So he tells her, he's like, you know that I've been killing Aries supporters for the last year. Like, I'm a monster. He's like, and I didn't make it quick. You know, I'm a monster, and I don't deserve you. And she's like, you're not a monster. And then I got so tickled reading this. She's like, you're not a monster. You're not a serial killer. She's like, when I was learning to drive, I hit a squirrel the second day I was in a car. And then this one time, I hit a deer. And then this one time, I hit the neighbor's dog. And this 3-year-old little boy saw. So she's like, and y'all, it's so sad, but she's like, I'm kind of an animal mass murderer. And I got so tickled because she's trying to, like, compare herself to Seth to make him feel better. So she pushes him down on the bed and is like, you're staying. So he does. So the next day, Josie tells Seth that she wants to go in the library because they're like jogging around campus, and he's like, all right, cool. So he takes her in, and then Marcus and Solos come in because they need to talk to Seth because the scouting party has gone missing. So Josie is just standing there, and all of a sudden this woman shows up with sunglasses on and says she's the librarian. And she's talking to Josie, and then when Seth comes back, the librarian disappears. So back in her room, Deacon comes to bring her dinner and just kind of hang out. And he's like, look, Seth is going to kill me because Seth told Luke, don't tell Josie about me. So Luke was already sworn to secrecy. But Deacon do what he wants to. Deacon don't. Y'all know Deacon don't be messing around with no rules. He does what he wants to. So Deacon's like, girl, let me tell you the story, okay? So he tells Josie everything. So that's what I say about there's this nice little synopsis in the book. And it is framed in the point of telling Josie what has happened. And he does it in a very objective way. And he does tell her the horrible things, but he also tells her the good things. And he's like, so... you know, yes, he did some terrible things, but in the end, he did the right thing, and he did what mattered. And so, Josie's whole mind is kind of blown, which is understandable, right? And so, later on, Seth comes in and goes to his room, which is across the hall from Josie, because he goes in his room usually to take a shower and get dressed, and then he comes to her room. So, she hears the door. So, she goes across the hall and opens the door, and she's like, bless her heart, because she's never been in a relationship. She's never been with a man, so she don't really know what she's doing, but she knows what she feels in her heart. So she goes across the hall, and she's like, I know everything. I know everything you did. And he's like, I bet you hate me. You should hate me. She's like, no, I don't hate you. And he's like, Josie, if you don't leave right now, I cannot be responsible for what I do because I don't have the best self-control to start with. And she literally, like, takes a step towards him and it's like, I'm not leaving. And the next thing you know, like, he is on her. And, and it is hot, y'all. It's hot. Okay. All right. So they're making out and she's, like, grabbing for him. And he's like, Josie, you know, have you ever done any of this stuff before? And she's like, no. And he's like, I've never had anything that was just mine and nobody else's. I've never been anyone's first. And he's like, I want to have all your firsts. And I'm going to take my time enjoying all your firsts. So, he does all the things with his mouth. Yes, he does. Yeah. So then the next day in training, Josie is actually working with Seth and Luke because Luke is helping Seth train her when the siren goes off. And y'all know when the siren goes off at the Covenant, it is not good. The poo has hit the fan. So Seth and Luke head out to see what's going on, and that missing scouting party has been possessed. So Seth takes Josie to the dorm because there's sentinels that are guarding the dorms. And Luke sends Deacon a text and tells him to stay with Josie. And Seth gives Josie a dagger and tells her, don't open the door unless it's me. And anybody that comes in here, you stab them. So Seth and Luke head out and they're trying to disable, not kill the sentinels because, you know, it's not their fault. And if they kill them, they kill the sentinel and the demon just goes and possesses somebody else. So it's like fighting a losing battle, basically. So then Artemis shows up and starts shooting them with her arrows, which kills the shade, but it also kills the sentinel. Then Hades shows up with one of his dogs. And Solos tells Seth that the sentinels from the dorm were seen leaving the dorm and that they're possessed. So Seth goes running for the dorm. Josie is gone. Dun, dun, dun. So when Josie comes to in a car, they take her to a cabin. She ain't got no shoes on. Like, they took her shoes. And she runs, barefoot and all. And they grab her. and shove her in the cabin. And when she goes inside the cabin, she sees this like pile of flesh laying on the floor. It's Aaron. And poor Aaron is beat up all over everywhere. Like, she's so beat up that some of her is still in its human form and some of her is in its fury form. She's got a chain around her neck. So she starts going off on Hyperion, and she's like, "You SOB, blah, 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 blah." And so Hyperion grabs her, throws her against the wall, then starts feeding on her. Seth gets Artemis to take him to the cabin. And Marcus is like, "No, you need to think about this, blah, blah, blah. What if he kills you? Da, da, da." And Artemis is like, just grabs them and they poof and they get to the cabin. She's like, "I can't go in with you because he'll kill me." So Seth is like, "It's all good, girl. I got this." So Seth takes out the sentinels outside. Then he goes inside. He starts fighting Hyperion. Josie and he's getting his butt handed to him because the Titans can kill an Apollyon, right? So he can be killed by Hyperion or any of the other Titans, but he fights anyway. So he's fighting Hyperion. Josie starts calling out for Apollo, and Hyperion's like, "Yeah, call him." And Apollo shows up, and we're all like, "Yay!" Because you wouldn't think they would, because the gods can't kill the Titans. They're not stronger than the Titans because they come from the Titans. So then Apollo throws a dagger, and you think he's going to hit Hyperion, but no, he hits Josie. After he says some words in Greek saying he unbinds her, he throws a dagger and hits her in the chest, and hits her so hard it pins her against the wall. She pulls the dagger out, and when she does, this like shockwave of light explodes from her. And when she opens her eyes, Apollo is gone, Hyperion is gone, and Seth is laying on the floor not moving. She crawls over to Seth, puts her head on his chest, and hears his heart beating right before she passes out. When she wakes up, she's in the infirmary, I guess in the Covenant, because they weren't far from, like, the cabin was close to the Covenant. And she's got this scar on her chest that is Apollo's mark. And Apollo's sitting there in the chair by her bed, and he looks weak and tired, like, because it took something out of him, right? To unbind her, he has to give her some of his power or something. So he tells her, he's like, "There's an icon of mine that you will have to find. The librarian can help you, and all the other demigods are going to have to do the same." So not only do they have to find all the other demigods, which nobody knows where they are, who they are, because they only kept track of a few of them because they were like Plan C. They have to find all the demigods. All those demigods have to be unbound, and then they have to find the icons of their parents. So he's like, "The librarian can help you," and that's it. And then he poof leaves. She goes into Seth's room, and he like wakes up, and of course flips her onto the hospital bed and is like kissing on her. And he's okay, and she can see his marks now. And they're just like, we're ready for the next step, and then that's the end. So that's the end of the return. So the next one is the power. So we'll be back for that one. Hope you guys enjoy the return because it is amazing. All the Sethy poo. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.